Hello, Zack and Mac. Episode 4, man. That's 4 episodes right there. We had 3. Now we're gonna have 4.
We have 4 episodes. How
Yeah,
about that?
that's
And
the way, that's the way the numbers work.
I just gotta say, the support has been fantastic through the first 3 episodes. I said I was going to make a Twitter at the end of that, and at the end of the last episode, that didn't happen, which is a little bit disappointing. We'll get
But it
to
will
it.
happen.
I promise you, it will happen.
Okay.
Just it didn't happen this week. But episode Quattro, let's get after it.
Let's
Give
get
you a little
after it.
Spanish there, Zach, for it.
That was some pretty good.
On this nice. It's pouring rain here.
It's pouring rain here too.
It's ugly out, so maybe a little Spanish can spice up the day.
Okay. All right. Yeah. We'll bust. We'll bust out the Spanish here. Also, oh my gosh. Also, wanna just a quick note. Even though this is coming out on the 12th, very happy Veterans Day. Big shout out, big thank you to all the branches of government. Branches of government, but all the branches of the military that keep us safe, defend our freedoms. Everybody that puts their life on the line, and big thank you so much on this Veterans Day. And Matt, down in Leesburg, we had that. You saw it a few times. That salutes of service that we always did. When I was with the Leesburg Lightning in Florida Collegiate Summer League, we had, for those of you who don't know, around the 4th inning, our public address guy, and apparently they did this before Glenn was here, would go and he would call out all the names of the 5 major branches of the military and invite everybody to stand up if they were part of that, and they would get a round of applause and would play their song that goes along with their branches of military, like the Army song, the Navy, et cetera, et cetera. And I thought that was a really cool thing to do. And Matt, these men and women really deserve our utmost respect and thanks. And what better way to do it than to kick it off on our show, of course, after your Spanish, here on Veterans Day.
Absolutely, Zach. My uncle served in the military for many years, and just thank you to him and all the brave men and women that serve this country. Happy Veterans Day, everybody. And what a way to kick off the show.
Show. We have a little humor, a little bilingualism from Matt, a celebration of the veterans, and who else knows a little thing or two about celebrating right now? It's the New York Mets, which is a rare thing to say, but Steve Cohen had his introductory press conference, and man, were people hopping up here, Matt. It was unbelievable how excited Mets fans are, and frankly, all of baseball should be, that this guy is going to be running the show out there in Flushing Meadow, Queens, because he's coming in. He's now the richest owner of Major League Baseball, and he is there to do business. All right. Here's a quote from New York Times article about during that introductory press conference. He says, and this is Cohen, "I'm essentially doing it for the fans," Cohen said on Tuesday. "When I really thought about this, I could make millions of people happy, and what an incredible opportunity that is. That's how I'm thinking about this. I'm not trying to make money here." Key phrase right there. "I have my business at point 72, and I make my money over there. So here, it's really about building something great, building something for the fans, winning. I just find this as an amazing opportunity." And he considers his ownership of the team to be a civic responsibility. How is that not music to your ears right there, Matt, if you're a Mets fan?
If you're a Mets fan right now, you got to be ecstatic. You already mentioned that people are going crazy, and they deserve to be going crazy, because you hear this from Cohen, and you're like, wow, we might have a future here. And honestly, Mets fans would tell you that it's been a little bit of a disappointment over the last few years with some of the array of talent they've had, especially this year, Zach, because they expanded the playoffs, and it seemed like and they still missed it. And you always hear about how good their pitching staff is, at least from a starter's perspective. Now, their bullpen outside of Seth Lugo stinks.
Yeah.
And Edwin Diaz really stunk it up. Now, he was actually pretty good in 2020. But when you expected him to be that dominant closer, he just wasn't. But when you hear Cohen talk and he says things like, if this team doesn't win a World Series in the next 3 to 5 years, he'll consider it a disappointment. And he's really talking about how much he wants to spend money.
Yeah.
That's, like you said, music to Mets fans' ears. And this team is going to be competing, I think, Zach, in the NL East here. Now, we all know how good the Atlanta Braves are, and the Miami Marlins look like they're ascending a little bit, obviously making the playoffs.
Yeah.
But we also got to see with them and see if Jeter even spends any money, because Miami really isn't that big of a market. And
No.
now you got somebody here like Steve Cohen with the Mets, and you already hearing noise that Francisco Lindor might head to New York.
Yeah.
JT Realmuto, who they talk about every single day here in
Oh,
Philadelphia,
I'm sure.
they know he's leaving, and they're just ticked off that he is going to leave, and he's probably going to go to the Mets because they know how a valuable player this guy
Oh
is
yeah, he's the best
behind the
catcher in
plate.
baseball.
Oh, without a doubt. And he's a great leader, and Philadelphia fans love him. So they're going to be really disappointed when he's gone.
And what
Not
a waste that
if
would
he's
be.
not if he's gone, when he's gone. People are going to be like, he's gone. There's no way the Phillies re-sign him. So you look at this Mets team, Zach, they're going to be competing. And I think they're going to be like we've said now, a free agent destination for some big names. They already re-signed Stroman.
Yeah, he
So
accepted
you
the
look,
qualifying offer.
yeah, he accepted that qualifying offer. So he's going to spend money, and it's going to be interesting to see what the outlook of this team looks like in the next year, really, because you think that Cohen is going to bring in guys right now. And he
Oh
said,
yeah.
hey, if we don't win a World Series in the next 3 to 5 years, that really stood out to me out of everything,
Oh, 100%.
in
Yeah,
my opinion.
especially for
But
Mets fans that, with the Wilpons, especially after they got all mixed up in the Bernie Madoff scandal and this and that, the team, you got the sense that fielding the best possible product on the field was not the number one priority. It was that turning the profit type of thing. They were looking at what kind of value they would get out of the deal, more in dollars and cents than what we're going to get out of the players. And now it's going to be focused more on the acquisition than the bottom line when it comes to different moves that they make, whether it be free agent signings or trades. And that's what this team needs to do. They're in New York City, the biggest sports media market in the entire country, and they're finally going to compete with the big boys and the Dodgers and the Yankees when it comes to free agents and trades and things like that. And I think that moving forward, this is going to be a tough team. Now he brings in Sandy Alderson again. He's back in the mix. And you got the idea when he was with the Mets, too, that he was a pretty good executive, but he was handcuffed a lot. So now he's going to get to pick, a GM and things like that. Cohen said that he's going to take more of a back seat to all that. He said, I played Little League baseball, when they were asking him how hands-on he would be in the baseball side of things. He's like, I'm going to hire people, of course, like, with big candidates and stuff like that. He would have people coming over to him, and he could have a final say, yes or no. But I think he's going to trust his staff. And I think they're going to make a lot of moves, Matt. I mean, and there's a lot of available guys this year. DJ LeMahieu comes to mind. Trevor Bauer comes to mind. I think Bauer's a guy that they can go after right away. I think
so too.
He's going to be wearing the orange and blue coming into this season. And he's going to add with Marcus Stroman and Jacob deGrom and Noah Syndergaard and make a really formidable 1 through 4.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think Bauer's somebody that they need to go to right away. I think adding more depth to that starting pitching will be really helpful for them. But I really think that JT Realmuto is going to be in the orange and blue, without a doubt. I just, from what I've seen, what I've read, his name just always has been floating around, the New York Mets. And I think he's going to be if they could sign him, man. I mean, you got a really good lineup now with Alonso, a young ascending star.
Yeah.
I like Michael Conforto,
Jeff McNeil.
Jeff McNeil, who he had a down year, I'd say, compared to what he's been. So you add those three guys, man, you're going to have a really good lineup there for the Mets, and I'm excited. I got a special place in my heart for the New York Mets. I was looking for an NL team. The Phillies were my team when I was a kid. I was really excited when they won the '08 championship, whatever. But once I went to a Mets game, they were playing the Phillies. We were talking about this before the show a little bit. I went to a doubleheader for the Mets Phillies, and Wilmer Flores hit a walk-off homer. I immediately bought a Mr. Met hat. So, and I love Citi Field. I was like, wow, this is one of my favorite ballparks outside of Camden Yards. So the Mets have a special place in my heart. I hope they're good, and they're going to be good for years to come if Steve Cohen and company makes the right moves. And like you said, There's a lot of different names on here. It's a heavy free agency market with a lot of different players. And I think the Mets are going to win big time and bring in some pieces.
I think a big thing that helps the Mets right here. So Real Muto obviously on the market, and when you think of other big teams that could afford Real Muto and the contract that he's going to demand, obviously you first think of the Yankees and the Dodgers. Dodgers right away are out because they got Will Smith back there and they have Austin Barnes in their backup, so they're not going to need Real Muto. And the Yankees have to make a big decision on whether or not they're going to
Get
give
rid
up
of
on
Gary.
Gary
Get rid of him.
Sanchez.
Get rid of
Get
him.
rid of him. I still think the jury's out on him because you know how good he can be. I know he hasn't shown it, and he had a bad year this year.
What was that year?
It was terrible. He was getting out hit by Higashioka.
That's what I'm saying. Like, this guy was supposed to be the big guy who comes through, and
he was. He
was.
His first couple
right.
seasons.
He 100% was, and he laid an egg. Now there were some circumstances. Obviously, the season was up in the air, and they got off to a late start. I will give him that excuse, but once you're starting to play every day and getting your timing back, let's go. And he didn't have that. I say get rid of him. If they can sign him, hey, Gary, thanks for all that you did, but we're moving on.
Yeah, Ryumicho and Nagashioka would be really nice. There's part of me, maybe it's because when he was coming up, that was when the Yankees were in that weird in-between stage, and he kind of carried them that one season to almost making the playoffs, and then in 2017 he was real good, and he's just kind of been there that whole time. He was the first of the baby bombers to really be up there. So I kind of have an attachment to him, although eventually they're going to have to pay him. And if it came down to if he wasn't already on the Yankees, if somebody was asking me if I wanted Real Muto or Gary Sanchez, I'd say JT Real Muto. So, but anyway, I think
that was going to be my next question for you.
Right. Well, there you go. So, but if the Yankees really think that Sanchez, but the thing is he is on the roster. So if they think that he can regain some form a little bit, they won't have to pay him as much as they'd have to pay Real Muto. And they can set some of their war chests aside for maybe another starting pitcher to go after or bullpen piece. But when it comes to the Mets, I think that because the Dodgers and the Yankees both have catchers that are right there, unless another team comes out of nowhere and wants to spend, the majority of their payroll on Real Muto, I think the Mets have that on lockdown. I think what's going to change the Mets is they're going to sign Real Muto, they're going to go out and get Bauer, and then they're going to solidify the bullpen by getting Liam Hendricks. Yeah, that's going to end up being their big three. They're going to get the big bat and the glove of Real Muto, and then he's going to be receiving baseballs from both Bauer and Hendricks because those guys both fit big needs, and why not go out and make a couple of splashes right away?
100%.
Build that momentum with this fan base. Why not do that?
Nah, I'm with you 100%. I think you also got to look at the bullpen, and you just named it, Liam Hendricks. You got to bring him in too. I think he's got to be somebody that you bring in and get that bullpen better because I think if you look at the one thing with the Mets is that you have questions about is that bullpen. It's been a problem, especially over the last two seasons with them and in the back end. So if you bring in somebody like that, he could really help. And you bring in Bauer to solidify that starting pitching staff because that's already a dominant starting pitching staff. You add Bauer, geez, that's all I got.
Well, he's another Cy Young Award winner. He just broke DeGrom's streak. I just saw coming up on the old ticker over here. He just won the NL Cy Young. So you have him in there. You have DeGrom in there. You'd have Stroh in there. And then you'd have hopefully a healthy Noah Syndergaard.
That's going to be the question. Is Noah Syndergaard going to be healthy? Because Thor, when he's healthy, he's out.
Electric.
He's awesome. When he's healthy, he's one of my favorite pitchers. Just how he controls. And he's got such control out there on the mound, how he hits his spots. He's awesome to watch when he is healthy and ready to roll on the mound. But, Zach, this Mets team is going to be good, and they're going to be competing with this Atlanta Braves team for years to come. And what that means for the Phillies is that they might be in the basement of the NL East. And that is just really sad to say, Zach, because you invest all this money into Bryce Harper. You think Jake Arrieta is going to be the man, right? You got Real Muto, and everybody, since they got him, has been saying, sign this man, and you haven't come up with a deal.
Yeah.
You're not going to bring back Didi Gregorius.
He might go back to the Yankees.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. He's not coming back to Philly.
Yeah.
Thanks for your time. We didn't even really get to see you smile because guess what? You had your mask on.
And they
Thanks.
were losing games.
And they were losing. And the fact that, and that's the problem with the Phillies. I mean, it went from when they were brought in Harper and some of these other guys. Wow, we might compete in the NL East. We might have a chance that if we have a good run to make a World Series. And now you're looking at the 4 other teams, including the Washington Nationals, who won a title last year, who didn't have the best year, and the Miami Marlins, who made the playoffs, and you got rid of Sixto Sanchez to your rival in Miami,
For 1
and now
year,
you're going to be in the
Vermuto.
basement.
And Sixto looks great, man. He looks really good.
I mean, it's just incredible to me that over a span of 2 years, you find out how to screw this up.
They look more like the Mets than the Mets do now.
Yes.
Except they actually went out and spent on Harper. But that trade was terrible for Sixto. If you weren't going to re-sign Realmuto.
You're going to be regretting that Sixto Sanchez trade.
And Alfaro, too.
Time.
They sent Alfaro there as well, so they don't have a catcher of the future right now either.
It's sad.
It is sad. But it's happy
really
for the
sad.
Mets fans who have every reason to feel excited because year after year, they would spend just enough money to be in the top 10 in payroll, but they wouldn't spend it wisely. You see GM after GM make really weird moves like the Cano trade, the signing of Jed Lowry. You sign Lowry over LeMahieu. You sign what's it called? Familia over Ottavino or Britton that one offseason. Now, granted, the Yankees didn't sign the other guys, but the Mets could have been competitive in those, and they didn't do it. They go out and they often select the wrong players. I think this time around, because they know that they have some financial freedom and because they also know that they can afford to make maybe a mistake or two in a signing, that
you can go after the big names.
You can go after the big names. You don't have to shop at the 5 and dime anymore. They're going from the Dollar Tree all the way up to Fifth Avenue. I mean, they're doing some good stuff now with the Mets. I'm really excited for them. I will say, as a Yankee fan, a little nervous because I just don't like – I like being able to know that we can go out and get a Cole and things like that. That's such a peace of mind.
With no problem whatsoever.
No problem. Like they were saying, oh, the Angels will go. And I said, there's no way in any realm that he's going to the Angels. And I was right because I think the thing that'll still go for the Yankees is the allure of being 27-time world champions and being like –
and it's the Yankees.
Yeah, they are the Major League Baseball team. I'm not saying that as like an arrogant Yankees fan, but when you think of Major League Baseball in the history of the game, it can't be told without talking about the New York Yankees.
100% agree.
Can't be done. But the Mets now, they'll also be able to, be a true New York market team, and that's going to help them go a long way. I can already hear Scott Boras calling his accountant up and telling him to get ready for another big year because now he's going to have 2 New York teams to have them leverage against each other for free agents in the future. So it's good for Boras. It's good for the Mets. It's good for baseball.
Good for the sport.
It's great for the sport. Anytime. Yeah. You know what, Matt? It is great for the sport. The more owners that you have that are serious about winning and a true commitment to excellence with the dollars behind it and hopefully the savvy behind it, that's only going to improve the quality on the field. I think the Mets and the Yankees, although they play in different divisions and obviously different leagues, are going to be pushing each other. Point forward to be better. And
that's great for baseball.
Oh, it's going to be amazing.
And everybody's been saying how baseball has been declining. That like you said, that's going to increase people being like, is this guy going to the Mets or is he going to the Yankees? It's going to be really cool to watch, and I'm really excited for this offseason. I mean, it's going to be a lot of fun, and this is just good for baseball. Baseball needed something like this.
It did.
And now it happened. Let's get after it, and it's going to be a fun offseason for the New York Mets. I tell you that right now.
Yeah, the Mets will at least get – hopefully the Yankees. But the Mets, they'll make a couple moves. Again, I want it written right now. Realmuto, Bauer, Hendricks. Those should at least be their top 3 priorities.
Do they win the division with those 3 guys, you think? I know it's way too early to tell. It's too early to tell, I know.
If they stay healthy and procure these 3 guys and get at least one more bullpen piece, yeah, they'll win the division. They'll be right. The Braves will be right there, but the Mets will win that division. How can you stop that 1 through 4 in the rotation?
You can't.
with Real Muto batting, with Alonso and McNeil and Conforto and Smith.
Maybe finally Jacob deGrom will get some run support.
Oh my God, one can only hope. This poor guy. What does he have? He has under 30 wins in the last 3 seasons.
Yeah,
and 2 Cy Young awards.
It's just so unfortunate for him because
it is.
He pitches some amazing games, and the team will score 1 run, and he'll take the no decision.
It's the loss.
Or the loss.
He'll lose 1-0 or 2-1.
Thanks, guys. Thanks for your help.
Yeah, just awful numbers. And he's a pretty good hitting pitcher too. But now he probably won't get a chance to help himself out anymore because I think the DH universal is here to stay. But we'll save that for another time when we go and we preview the Major League Baseball offseason and this and that. We're moving forward. But now, speaking of off seasons, Matt, the NBA is going to start December 22nd. Free agent signing period is going to start November 20th. But the draft is going to be this time next week. We record this on a Wednesday. It's going to be the 18th. So all our draft talk is going to be today because by the time you would hear it next Thursday, it would be outdated. So looking at the NBA draft, Matt, not really. There's nobody out there that I'm like, wow, I can't wait to see this guy in the NBA. It's a bit of a shallow draft. You got Minnesota picking first. The Golden State Warriors are the 2 pick, but maybe they don't stay there. What are your just general thoughts on this 2020 draft class? Because I'm a little lukewarm about it.
I don't think it's really that good of a draft compared to what we've seen over the past few years. I'm just not really excited about some of the talent that I'm seeing. Anthony Edwards is going to be the projected number 1 overall pick. Is he a good player? And did he have a good year at Georgia? Yeah, but was the team any good? Not really. You know what I mean? So
right.
There's some other names on here. Probably the most excited guy I'm seeing on here is James Wiseman.
Yeah.
Out of Memphis. I think he's going to be a stud in the league, and he's a good center, and what he did at Memphis is really good. I also like Obi Toppin as well from Dayton. I think he's going to be a really good player. What he did at Dayton this past year was awesome, but I'm kind of with you, Zach. I'm a little bit lukewarm about this because you don't really see a lot of the big names that you're accustomed to seeing in the NBA draft over years past. Me and my buddy Logan Dolby, we did a segment during the offseason last year on our radio show. We called it Blast from the Draft. And we would look at old drafts and we'd pick our gem of the draft, our best player of the draft, the worst player, the bust of the draft. And you go back to some of those drafts and you're like, wow, there's some really good names on here. And hey, there might be some good names on this draft. You don't know yet.
Yeah, well, you don't know until they hit the court.
Exactly. So, but my initial reaction is, this could be a little bit better. LaMelo Ball's a big name in this draft, but
he's a big name. But is he that good?
Is he that good?
I think he's just marketed well.
He was good when he went over internationally and played. He was good there.
Yeah,
and he's got the size. He's listed at 6'8", and he's going to probably play the 2 or maybe bring up the ball, depending on who he's picked by. And now if he goes to Golden State, he won't because you got Steph and Clay there at number 2. But LaMelo Ball's a big name. Anthony Edwards, I could see being like an Andrew Wiggins, Zach. Somebody who's a good scorer, doesn't really play much defense.
Yeah.
Who, when you can give him the ball, he can create and he can score the basketball at will, and he's got an outside jump shot and all those things. But I don't really see much from anybody else that I'm like, this guy's going to be a stud in this league. You see one name, maybe James Wiseman. That's the only guy. And he's not even projected to be the number 1 overall pick. It's Edwards.
That might be more of a need thing, though, because Minnesota's already got Cat. So they're not going to pick up a center. No. So they'll either go Edwards or LaMelo. If I'm them, I go Edwards and the shooting guard, so that way you have D'Lo bringing up the ball. You have Edwards there, and you got Beasley, as your 6th guy, because he really showed up.
State will go with Ball?
No. Ball's going to drop.
I don't think so either.
I think Golden State either trades the pick, and they only trade it if they don't like Wiseman. Because I think James Wiseman fits really, really well with what they're doing. Because you look at all the Golden State teams, all they need is a guy down low that can clean up if the guys miss the threes and stuff like that. Now, Wiseman needs to learn how to pass a little bit better, but if he can be kind of like an Andrew Bogut was, in the days when they had him, or even when JaVale McGee was on the team. JaVale McGee was a Warrior.
Yes, he was.
Yeah, he was. I was, because he's been on so many teams lately. So even just like a JaVale McGee, and I think he's going to be a little bit better. You got a starting five out there of Steph, Clay, Wiggins, Draymond, and Wiseman. They're right back in the West.
Well, they're back in the West, even if they didn't.
Well,
have a
yeah,
top draft
but if
pick.
they could have a guy that's right there in the middle, maybe can match up well with AD, with the Lakers.
Yeah.
Then they're right back in it again. And now Draymond, he's still pretty good down there, but I think that's the Warriors' best bet, unless they want to trade that number 2 pick, that number 2 overall pick. But I again, the value of that isn't as big as it was in the past. So we'll see what ends up happening here in this draft. Again, it's pretty weak. I don't really see a lot of teams, really changing instrumentally overnight because of it. Now, I'm getting some big NBA news right now, though. Speaking of trades, I got a Bleacher Report update that Russell Westbrook wants out after 1 season with Houston.
Really?
So just initial reaction, Matt, where could he go?
Well, I did see reports of that last night, and I didn't know he wanted out. That surprises me.
Yep.
But
and Shams reported it, so
could you see? Yeah, no, it's definitely legit. Could you see him in a New York Knicks uniform, Zach? Bring him in.
I could see him in a New York Knicks uniform. He's not going to make the team any better. He's going to go. Here's what's going to happen, man. Russell Westbrook's going to get traded to the Knicks. He's going to be furious. He's going to act like he's excited, but he's going to be furious because the team's not going to add anything else around him. He's going to be trying to distribute the ball out, and nobody's going to be making any shots. So he's not going to get his triple-doubles, and then he'll be gone at the deadline. So he's not – I could see the Knicks making a move for him, but I just don't know why. It wouldn't work out for Westbrook, that's for sure. It could help the Knicks win, like maybe up to – 30 wins, 32, but they need so much more work besides Westbrook.
Well, I'm on Bleacher Report right here, Zach. It says Russell Westbrook trade rumors, Knicks and Clippers are interested in them. So
now the Clippers are interesting.
Yeah, the Clippers, who you get rid of for them, though?
The Clippers?
Because they don't have any draft picks. They got rid of all the draft picks to the Thunder.
They don't have any draft picks. Yeah, what do they do? I guess they would have to trade some on-roster guys.
Do you think Paul George for him?
Nah. I'd rather have Paul George than
you can't do that. No, I think I'd rather have Russell Westbrook
than
Paul George on the Clippers.
See, but here's the thing with the Clippers: I almost said Columbus, the Columbus Clippers, who used to be a AAA affiliate for the Yankees. If you're Los Angeles right now, and I have to go out there, and I think that I need a top point guard. So Patrick Beverly, relegate him down to 6-man, or if you need a tough defensive assignment, I'm going and getting Chris Paul back. I'll trade for him, get his money. I'd give up substantially less because of his recent output. He's a good leader. He's a good pure distributor, and he's not going to be a guy that, whether you believe it or not, Westbrook can be a bit of a selfish player out there on the court, and he needs the ball all the time. And Chris Paul doesn't need that. And he can still give you 15.
Chris Paul could be good. Chris Paul could be good for that.
He can give you 15 and 8 every night. So I'd go out and get Chris Paul if I were them.
Yeah,
I have no idea where Westbrook could end up going. Maybe the Lakers make a move for him. That would just be bananas, though. If you had him, LeBron, and AD, that'd just be –
that would be bananas. You need somebody – like the reason I can see him going to the Knicks is because – everybody's been saying that they haven't had that one star. They haven't had that one big player to come in that wants to play at Madison Square Garden and lead this team. Well, Russell Westbrook can do that, and he did it in Oklahoma. No, I'm not saying they're going to be, title.
They won't make the playoffs, not even in the East.
But they could compete for the playoffs in the East. They could compete with the Detroit Pistons, who always seem to make the playoffs. Who was the 8th seed? The Orlando Magic.
The Magic, yeah.
They can compete with those teams with Russell Westbrook on there. I'm not, like you said, I'm not saying that they're going to be a 4 seed in the East, but they could compete for a playoff spot. Kind of like when it was just Westbrook's show when he averaged that triple-double and he willed them to that 6 seed in the West. Remember that? We didn't have a lot of players with him.
Yeah.
He had Steven Adams. That seemed about it. They got rid of, they got rid of
Cantor.
Ennis Cantor as well. So
they got rid of Cantor. Like he was gone. So it's just Adams and Westbrook.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It was Adams and Westbrook. That was about it. Like he really willed that team. They lost in 5 to, I believe it was the Rockets. But, he could definitely be a star for a New York Knicks team, without a doubt. And he might want that. He might want to be the number one guy.
You're right. Maybe he would.
Obviously, he didn't like playing with James Harden. This is what this shows you.
I just didn't. That was a weird trade to begin with when he went over there. They seem like oil and water to me because those two guys, they both need the ball so much. And you can't put them together. It's not going to work. With the NBA, we were talking about this with the 76ers. I believe it was last week. When you're building a basketball team, when you're building your starting 5, you have to make sure that not only are all 5 quality pieces like good individually, but they have to mesh. They have to work together well. That's why Golden State works so well, because they're all willing to pass the ball, but they do have those volume guys that, when you can give it to them a bunch of times in a row and they'll keep making shots. That's what made those teams so special. But when you have a guy like Westbrook and a guy like Harden together, again, they both need to take like 20 shots a game, and it's just not going to work. So I'm not surprised that he wants out. Yeah, you're right. Maybe I'm just saying the thing with the Knicks is if they get Westbrook and then don't do anything else, then they're going to have some big problems.
Yeah, that's the thing. Who's going to want to play with Westbrook is a question.
Yeah, I don't know how many guys want to play with him.
If he goes to like a Knicks, who's going to play with Westbrook? That's a good point. And Zach, I'll be the first to say when he was traded, I was surprised. But for some reason, I thought the Harden-Westbrook relationship and on-court play was going to work just because they played together in Oklahoma City.
Yeah.
Now,
Harden had a different role, though.
That's what I'm saying. That's what I was just about to say.
Yeah.
Harden wasn't the dominant volume scorer. I need to have the ball every possession type of player that he is now.
Yeah.
But I thought that their personalities would work well together and they could be able to work together. But what it seemed like to me was it was either Harden's going to have a really good game or Westbrook's going to have a really good game. You didn't really see many games this year when both had stud performances.
Right.
So that was a big thing for me with the Houston Rockets bringing in Russell Westbrook this year. And I'm with you. I am not surprised, I should say, that he wants out of Houston because it just didn't mesh well. And I like what you said, Zach, about how each individual has to be not only good, they got to work as a team.
Yeah.
And Westbrook and Harden, I don't think worked as well as they would have wanted as a team. And that's why they got knocked out by the Los Angeles Lakers in 5 games and why they really just never put their foot on the gas pedal. And you thought they'd be a number 2, a number 1, or maybe even compete for that 1 seed with the Lakers and Clippers. They were in the middle of the pack of the West, and they had better years before that without Westbrook. They were a 1 seed, I think, one year. They were ahead of the Golden State Warriors with Chris Paul and those boys. Mm-hmm. So it didn't really work together. And I'd be, like I said, I was the first to say, once they got the trade, I was like, I like this. This could possibly work. And it just didn't. So I like him going to a team that needs a big player and maybe a good market or a big market like New York where no one seems they want to play there. Russell Westbrook to the Knicks. I'm about it. Is it going to make them a championship contender? No, but it could make them a playoff contender at the bottom seeds there in the Eastern Conference.
He's just a tough guy to move because you don't know how he's going to fit with the pieces around you. Like we've seen him play with Durant, and that worked for a period of time. We saw it not really work out with Harden. We saw it work with Paul George. So maybe if he does, maybe he is the right fit for the Clippers because he's worked with George before, and Leonard isn't a big ego guy either.
That's a big time big three now.
But if I am the Clippers, I'd rather try
Who do you got
reunion
to
with Chris
trade
Paul.
if you're the Clippers?
Well,
though?
exactly. They don't have the capital for it.
They'd have to trade like Paul George.
Yeah, they'd have to move somebody big. Yeah, and it wouldn't make sense to. They could get better value from a deal, net value for Chris if they go after Chris Paul. But yeah, that's big news right here. You wonder if Harden's going to follow up.
There were reports that he might go.
Yeah.
And the 76ers were a big option for him. I remember when Daryl Morey was hired, maybe a few days later, maybe not even a week later, you were hearing James Harden to Philly.
Now, Matt, my question to you, would you trade Ben Simmons for James Harden?
Oh, man.
Like that.
You would 100%.
Like that. One can shoot, one can't shoot. Easy.
It's tough for me just because I like Ben Simmons' game. Right. Other than why he can't shoot, he can do everything else really well. Defend. He's an exceptional passer. He's great at getting to the lane. But I've been on and off with this, Zach. I think you do it because I think Harden and Embiid, the 1-2
That's
punch,
nasty.
The pick and roll
and the
game,
beards.
The beard. You know, like that 1-2 punch. I mean, you thought James Harden and Clint Capella were good.
Oh yeah.
Imagine these two.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that'd be shake and bake.
Oh, by the way, Tobias Harris is there too, and Al Horford.
Oh yeah, he'd be chilling in the corner.
Yep.
Wide open for three. Hopefully he doesn't doink him. That's all I gotta say. I need a big year from Tobias Harris if he's going to stay on this team. But I'm surprised you're snapping your finger because
like
what if do you think there's any chance that Ben Simmons gets a jump shot? That's the question. Because what if he does? And this trade, because Harden is, you got to look at the ages too. Harden's in his 30s.
Right. He's older. Here's the thing I don't like.
How many more years are you getting out of James Harden when you know Ben Simmons is in, not even into the prime of his career?
Well, I'm also thinking the injury history with Simmons too. He's missed a lot of time lately. And again, I don't think he works well with Embiid. I don't think I'm not saying he's bad, and I think he's got potential to be really good. But if you can go out there and get yourself a James Harden for Ben Simmons, a guy who's been really good, but has been, one of the top two guys on your underperforming team that gets bounced in the playoffs every year. And I know Harden hasn't made it all the way either at any point in his career. Except when he was a bench player for the Oklahoma City Thunder when he was their sixth man against Miami. But I would just rather have Harden. He's a good, just when it comes to passing, I'd say they're comparable. In the scoring department, it's hand over fist. It's way better for Harden. Harden can turn it on defense when he needs to. He's bad. Like, in the grand scheme, he's not great, but when he's got to make a play, he does it.
He does.
And the rest of the 76ers defense is good enough that it can make up for maybe if he takes a couple plays off, which, is inexcusable, but might happen with him to conserve for the offensive output. I just think that this Sixers team is ready to compete. And if they get a piece like Harden, like they're right there in the conversation with everybody else in the top East, whether it be the Raptors, whether it be the Bucks.
And what is the
Nets.
the Nets too. You can't forget about that. What has been the biggest problem with the 76ers? It's been that when the game's on the line in the fourth quarter, you need somebody to get a bucket. They don't know who to turn to.
Right.
They had Jimmy Butler. It worked out. They were one game away from going to the Eastern Conference Finals. They let him walk. He went to Miami. I'm still hurt about it. It happened, whatever. But guess what? You thought this year they had the same questions. It was like, okay, let's force feed Joel Embiid, although he's double teamed, and let's see what he can do. That didn't work. So they were like, okay, let's go to Tobias Harris, see what he can do. You think that was going to work? No.
He's not a number one guy.
Yeah, he's their number one guy. Yeah, why not?
Yeah.
And then Ben Simmons, he can't shoot. So who are you going to? So I do like that with Harden bringing him in for Simmons in that regard because who's getting the ball with the game on the line. It's going to be James Harden. And that's what the Sixers need. And I think, listen, Zach, I won't be that upset. I won't be that upset if Simmons goes But what I'm worried about is if he develops a jump shot with a different team and 5 years down the road
He's
when
Magic
James
Johnson.
Harden, yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And James Harden might be out of the league for all we know because he's going to be 36, 37 years old.
Yeah.
So that's my biggest thing with this. Now, if you want to win now, you think you can win a championship now, and we win a championship now with James Harden, hey, I can't be mad. Although Simmons might be good later on, I can't be mad because guess what? You brought him in, you won a championship. But if you don't win a championship, and you see what Ben Simmons might be doing in Houston, we could have issues. We could have some serious issues. But at the end of the day, Zach, now that I've said all that, I'd probably do it. Probably do it.
And also, Houston's blowing it up. So Simmons isn't going to be doing anything great over there for the next couple of years if they were to make that move.
I agree with that.
So you wouldn't really have to worry about it. Even if he did develop the jump shot, they wouldn't be making the playoffs out there in the West.
One thing I know for certain is with Daryl Morey at the helm, one of those two are getting traded.
They're making a splash. Yeah, and they gotta move one of those two guys. I move Simmons because you need a better point guard. Because this is a point guard league, you know? And Simmons is really great, but you need a guy that can, again, I have to go back to the shot. You have to be able to shoot the three ball if you're going to be a point guard in the NBA. And Simmons can't do it.
He's a 6'10" Rajon Rondo.
Exactly. Listen, he could be if he played in his natural position for his body type, he'd be like Jokic. That's what he would be. And he could do that down low. Oh, he's amazing. We could go on about him as well. He'd be a guy I would pick. I pick him in fantasy every year if I can. He'd be a guy I would pick if I was starting a team, but
100%. We'll have to do one of them segments later on.
Oh yeah.
Like a starting five, or who would you pick for something like that? But yeah, man. I think the Sixers, they're in win now mode with Daryl Morey. I saw something Morey made about 70-something deals. I think it was 77.
Yeah, he likes to trade. He's like the guy up in Seattle for the Mariners. I always forget his name, but like making like a billion trades all the time.
So for certain that this team assembled right now won't be at some point next season. You know that 100%. And I think bringing James Harden in here would definitely help this team. But I'm torn about it, but I'd do it.
Yeah, I mean, if it wins you a championship, it wins you a championship. Speaking of winning and losing, Matt, we're going to move on to our NFL pick segment. And once again, I found a way to go 2-3. 7-8 overall now. I won with the Giants and I won with the Saints. And they were both underdog picks. So if you picked those, you would have made money. But I lost the Pats. They didn't cover against the Jets. I lost the Steelers, who didn't cover against the Cowboys. And then I flat out lost in my Seattle pick, where I remember saying to you, there's no way, Matt, that Buffalo is going to be able to beat Seattle. That's not happening. This is a stupid pick. And then here we go. And they went out. Jeffrey DePoto. That's his name for the GM for the Mariners.
For the Mariners? Yeah.
So 2-3 for me last week. But again, hey, if you went with me for the underdog picks, you would have made some money. So at least I could have helped you there. I knew the Saints would beat Tampa.
That was a great pick.
That wasn't a lucky guess.
That was a lock of the week from you.
Oh yeah. Here's why. If you watch as a Giants fan, we know how to beat Tom Brady. There's one thing that beats Tom Brady time and time again, and that's pocket pressure. If you've got guys that can get in on him and make him think a little too much when he's in there and have him look over his shoulder, that's how you beat him. That's how the Giants beat him both times in the Super Bowl in the 2007 and the 2011 seasons. And that's what the Saints have. The Saints have a really, really great pass rush. And I had a feeling that they were going to be able to go ahead and get to him. They're in midseason form now. They're in stride. They can beat up on that offensive line a little bit. And Breeze is still good enough that they're going to hold on to the ball long enough. And now I think that they would win. What was it end up being? 38-3? No. But I had a feeling that they would win that game. And, very, very exciting for the Saints to pick up that game. Now, I'm going to be doing a little bit of a 180 this time around. And, Matt, the Jets have a bye week, so I can't pick against the Jets this week.
No. Oh, no.
I know. So you know what? I blew it last week anyway because the Pats didn't cover for me. So I did pick another team, though. I stayed in New York. Actually, I picked the only team that is really in New York with the Bills. So I figure I'll just get started again. So while Matt's typing his picks down, I know he's got them in his noggin, but I'll get out ahead of it. So again, 2-3, 7-8 overall. I'm very sorry if you've been picking with me all the way. I'm still undefeated in my Survivor League, by the way, but that's without spreads and numbers. So here we go. This time I'll try to do a little bit better. Let's see if this gets sorted out. We're going to start off with a division matchup. The New York Giants and the Philadelphia Eagles. Matt, the Eagles seem to have the Giants number. The Giants have no way of going into Philly or even beating the Eagles at home. I think the Eagles have beat them, 10 out of the last 11 times? Something crazy like that.
It's crazy. It's definitely crazy. I know I don't think Daniel Jones has beaten Philly.
Daniel Jones has only beaten 2 teams in his career. He's beaten Washington 4 times, and he beat Tampa last year in his first start. So Daniel Jones is 4-0 against Washington and 1-16 against the rest of the National
of the league.
But Matt, I think that's going to change this week. I think the Eagles are vulnerable. I think coming off the bye, they're going to be sluggish. I think the Giants are excited. They're coming off a big win. They were +5 in the turnover department. Jones looked better. The defense was really, really good. Even against Alex Smith, picked him off 3 times. The running game was great. They had over 100 yards on the ground before halftime last week. Jones didn't turn the ball over, though he did fumble twice, but one went out of bounds, and he recovered the other one. I think that this team is moving in the right direction. They got a lot of confidence, and I think Daniel Jones knows that this might be the most important game that he plays all season, Matt. And Carson Wentz has not been playing well. He doesn't have the weapons outside that he's had in years past, and he hasn't looked like the same quarterback. And, Matt, I honestly think the Giants, not only will they cover that 3.5, but they're going to go and they're going to take home this game in the Meadowlands.
Oh, he's sprinkling the money line, people.
Yeah, I think that the Giants will go ahead and they'll win this game. I have a lot of confidence in what Joe Judge and Patrick Graham are doing. They've gotten real creative with Jason Garrett in the offense as well. If they can get the offense to perform in the second half like they have been doing in the first half, I think that this team could easily beat this Philadelphia Eagles team and be right there in the NFC East race. That'll be my first pick. Number 1. Number 2, got the Bucks playing Carolina. Bucks are only 4.5-point favorites. Now, I get that it's a road game, but, they're coming off a tough loss to the Saints, and I think that they smell blood in the water.
Yeah, I think so. I think so too, Zach. I think the Bucks played terribly against the Saints. We already mentioned that. And Tom Brady, after a bad performance, he's waiting to get back on the field.
Well, he and Bruce Arians are both probably just irate with everything at themselves, with the team. So they're going to pull it together. I think they're going to beat up on Matt Rule in Carolina. I have the Bucks and laying the 4.5 points. The Bucks will take home that one. Next one, this is a tough game, Matt, but I decided to go for it because why not? We have Buffalo visiting Arizona. Now, Arizona just lost to Miami, who looked really, really good. Tua Tagovailoa had a great game. Kyler Murray, though, outplayed him but still lost. But, Matt, the Bills are coming off a win. I think that this team is ready to roll right now. They're kind of back on track a little bit, and now they're going to head out and they're going to go to Arizona and play them. And they're 2-point underdogs in this game. I think it's a pick 'em. I think Arizona losing to Miami, and, even though Tua had a great game, that's not a great offense. Buffalo's offense is far better. The defense takes a step back. But I still think since the Bills were able to go ahead and beat Seattle in a shootout, even though Arizona beat Seattle in that overtime game, I think the Bills will they'll cover that 2-point spread and go ahead and take that one home as well.
Yeah, that's an interesting game, Zach. I think the Bills – I can't believe they're +2 in this game, the way the Cardinals played defensively against Miami.
That's right.
That Arizona defense is terrible.
Yeah. And they've been good for so many years. But – I guess everything's got an expiration date. Now, we were talking about this next one, Matt, before the show. And this one sounds a little nuts, but I know you'll hear me out. You heard me out. So the Steelers are playing Cincinnati. Now, obviously, any sane person, if it was a money line pick, would easily pick, Pittsburgh if there was any money to be made off of that.
Yeah, exactly.
But Cincinnati plus 10.5. I mean, Joe Burrow and those guys are scoring a lot of points. And Joe Burrow proves that even if he gets hit a million times in the pocket, he still steps up and makes the next throw. And he's going to get beat up by a Pittsburgh front seven. But that doesn't stop this kid.
No,
He's
it
got a
does
lot
not.
of good receivers. He's got a good running game. I can really see them covering that 10.5 right there. So I'm picking Cincinnati.
I like
Because
that.
that game's going to be a lot closer than I think
I
people
do
think it
too.
will be.
Zach, I agree with you 100% on what you just said about how Burrow's toughness is, because he takes some licks
Yeah.
behind. You know what I mean? He takes some shots because that offensive line is
It's terrible.
horrendous. And he just goes out the next play and throws a ball right on the money.
Mm-hmm.
He's tough. And I know they played a Ravens team on the road, and they got schooled in that game, and he looked like a rookie quarterback. But the Steelers, Zach, played the Cowboys, and they made Garrett Gilbert, or is that his name, Garrett Gilbert?
Garrett Gilbert, my favorite Alliance of American Football quarterback for the Orlando Apollos, came in.
And he looked good. You're telling me
did.
Joe Burrow can't do what Gilbert did?
Oh, he can easily do what Gilbert did. I always thought Gilbert should have gotten a chance in the NFL. I was a big Orlando Apollos fan when the AAF came out. My buddy Reed Keller and I, we picked a team where we heard something that Orlando was going to be a feeder team for the Giants, but they had the coolest logo. So we're like, let's go with the Apollos, man. This team looks like fun, and they won every game, I believe. And
He was
Gilbert,
the MVP.
Yeah, and Gilbert was great. He made a lot of tight throws. I'm like, this guy could be a backup in the NFL.
Oh,
but
sure.
now you got Burrow, who's definitely a starter. He might already be a top 10 quarterback in this league. And I think that he can do even more than obviously what Gilbert did, and then therefore cover that 10.5 point spread.
I like it.
My final pick, I'm going to pick your team, Matt. The big bad Baltimore Ravens, -7 at New England. Matt, New England played terribly last week against the Jets. That defense is atrocious.
Did you think the Jets were ever going to win that game? I did.
When
I'll be the first
when
to
they were
say.
up 20-10, yeah, I did, because of how bad the Patriots' offense was.
You know what I
But
love
then
doing?
you got the feeling that they would find a way to lose.
I'm like the biggest Joe Flacco fan ever.
Oh yeah, well, I mean, yeah, he brought you a ring.
I think he's the greatest thing. He's just awesome. I think
He was throwing bombs.
he was awesome. And what I love doing, I was on Twitter just spamming that Joe Flacco is elite.
You were.
I have a shirt that's one of those Barstool Sports shirts. It's his face on it, and it just says elite on it.
Yeah.
I broke that out on Monday Night
Oh, yeah.
Football. I mean, he was throwing dimes all over the place.
Yeah. Until
New
the
England's
end.
got some issues.
They have a lot of issues. Well, that defense is supposed to be great, but I'm not impressed by the McCourties and Gilmore right now.
They were getting burned by Perryman.
Yeah, by Brashad Perryman. That's very concerning. And Cam was throwing the ball accurately, but they weren't able to go with the deep game too often. And again, they let the Jets score 27 points on them. That's not good.
That's terrible.
Against Baltimore, who's going to have the ball for 35 minutes because of how well they run the ball. Yeah. They'll pick up that 7-point slack, and they're gonna win that. So I'll recap my picks. I got the Giants beating the Eagles. Giants plus 3.5. The Bucks -4.5 at Carolina. The Bills +2 at Arizona. The Bengals plus 10.5. The Steelers, and Baltimore -7 at the New England Patriots. Trying to climb above 500. I am for the first time this season, Matt. Let's go with your picks, and we'll get ready for your money line pick of the week as well.
Absolutely, Zach. Week 10 in the NFL season, Zach. We've done this twice, these picks. 11-4. My first 2-loss week last week, Zach. The Steelers
we've done
really
3
let
picks.
What was that?
We've picked all 3 weeks we've picked.
Yeah, 3 weeks. Excuse me. Yeah, I'm losing track. I'm losing.
We did have the week skip when none of my equipment was working.
Oh, yeah.
That
that's what's confusing me there.
Yeah.
But, yeah, the way I'm saying, 11-4, okay, had my first 2-loss week. And I'm sorry to everybody. I guaranteed you free money picking the Steelers. And I'm watching that game, and I'm, rooting for the Cowboys. And I really thought the Cowboys were going to win that game, and they just didn't. So the Steelers, I'm sorry, were -14. Really not my best pick there. 3-2 last week, 11-4 overall. The team let me down. The team let me down. Alex Smith was driving with 2 minutes to go. I was rooting so hard for the team. And he just, how do you win a game with 5 turnovers? Just horrendous there. And they had a chance. Alex Smith, I like what I was rooting for him. Comeback player. I was rooting for him hard. And, that pick he threw at the end of the game, it was just,
which one?
Really don't. Yeah, he just threw it. Yeah, he threw it right at the dude.
Yep. It was too, listen, he had no chance, Matt. The Giants have 2 Jersey guys in their secondary. It's not happening. Logan Ryan and Jabril Pepper. Jabril Peppers grew up a town over from me in East Orange. I had some buddies that played with him at Primus Catholic.
That's pretty cool. And also,
so 2 Jersey guys, you're not getting past them.
No, my money line pick of the week hit last week. The Dolphins beat the Cardinals
in
a really awesome game. Tua Tagovailoa looked awesome in that game. So the money line pick of the week hit last week. People 2-1 on that, 11-4 overall. Here are my picks for week 10. Zach, we're going to kick it off when the Ravens travel to New England. Ravens, like you said, Zach, -7 against this New England team, Zach. And I was really impressed of what I saw from the Baltimore Ravens in that second half. It was the first time you could say all season, except for the first game of the season, that this team made adjustments at halftime. Because what happened? They weren't running the ball that well in that first half, and Lamar Jackson and Greg Roman and that offensive crew went with more of a passing attack offense, and it worked well, and you can see what Lamar Jackson is made of. You can see he can throw the ball a little bit. He showed you in that second half. I was impressed because earlier in the week, it was a very emotional loss to Pittsburgh. There was some COVID going around the team. Guys weren't cleared till the end of the week, and they didn't play that well in the first half, but they made adjustments and played well. And now they won a really tough game. That was their first win against Indianapolis in their franchise history at Lucas Oil Stadium.
Yeah, I couldn't believe that.
I couldn't either. But now when you think about it, Peyton Manning was so good. And every time we went there and played a game, we struggled big time. So it makes sense. We did, I think, beat them maybe once or twice in Baltimore, but over the last few years when Peyton was there. But I was really surprised about that. And now, Zach, they go to New England, and they're not overlooking New England now. Bill Belichick has had Baltimore's number too many times.
Oh, yeah.
John Harbaugh ain't overlooking this team.
Mm-mm.
And New England they are not that good. What I saw on Monday Night Football from that defense made me want to yak, okay? And now you're playing one of the best offensive units in the NFL in the Baltimore Ravens. Give me the Ravens -7 there. They're going to cover that spread. I see them winning it pretty easily, Zach.
It's an easy game.
I think New England is going to compete, but it ain't going to be good enough. Ravens -7. Zach, I'm picking against you on this next one. You've been picking the Giants since we started this thing.
Mm-hmm.
Okay,
They play tough, man.
They do play tough. I'll give you that. And it's time for the Philadelphia Eagles to get on the right track. You played the worst 8 games you could probably play in the Doug Peterson era and the Carson Wentz era. You're still in first place. It's time to get it in gear right now.
Yeah.
And you play in your division rival who competed and should have beat you 2 weeks ago.
They should have beat them in Philly.
They should have, Zach. You're 100% right. They had no business winning that game, and they somehow did.
Well, Daniel Jones turned the ball over.
And Evan Ingram dropped pass.
So the things that the Giants are known for.
Evan Ingram dropping passes, Daniel Jones fumbling.
Daniel Jones fumbled the ball.
I like the Eagles in this game -3.5. There's just something telling me that Carson Wentz and Doug Peterson are going to figure this out because they're coming off a bye. Everybody's excited in Philly because they want to see what this dude's made of. I was hearing things today, Zach, on the radio that there was somebody who said they were thinking about maybe trading Sam Darnold for Carson Wentz.
Oh
I
my
heard
god,
that this week.
that sounds like a Philadelphia
Today.
sports talk radio opinion, though.
Are you kidding me? You're going to give up on Carson Wentz that fast?
Or
I think
Sam
he's
Darnold.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. You're going to bring Sam Darnold in for Carson Wentz? Please stop. Okay, this guy was an MVP candidate in 2017. I think he's going to have a big second half. It starts against the Giants on the road. You mentioned how good the Giants are as a competing standpoint. They're going to compete in this game, but I think the Eagles cover that -3.5. They win the game. Eagles -3.5, Zach. I'm going to take it. Here's a tough one for me.
Well, hold on, Matt. What are you going to do when the Giants defense smothers Carson Wentz all game?
I'll tell you, I've been very supportive of Carson Wentz. Next week, if they lose this game, he's going to hear it from me. I'm telling you that.
All right.
Not
So
just because
it's
I
a
want my
tease for
picks-
next week's episode.
Not just because I want my picks to hit Zach, because I think he's a good player and he needs to start showing it right now. I think this is the time he needs to start showing it right now after the bye week.
He and Jones both have something to prove this game.
Yeah, I think this is a prove-it game for both those quarterbacks, Zach, 100%. Next one, Zach, this one's going to break my heart, but I'm picking the Lions -4 against the team.
Yeah.
I'm such a Washington football team fan, Zach. I don't know why. I just think they're fun. They're a fun group.
Well, they're called the team.
Yeah, they're called the team. I mean, that does it get much better than that? Washington football team.
Maybe the heads in the Florida Collegiate Summer League.
Yeah, exactly. It's like that's exactly what it's like. It's like the loggerheads being the heads, the team, bro. The team +4.5, Zach. They competed against the Giants, but the turnovers were an issue. The Lions, I'm taking them. I'm just taking them. If I really want to stay away from this game.
Even if Chase Daniel plays?
That's what I'm saying. Like, I'm just taking the Lions. I just am. I just am. I got really no other reason for it. Even if Chase Daniels plays, I'll take the Lions just because I don't trust this team. I really don't. I don't trust the team.
This
right
team?
now. Yeah, I just don't trust them. After that performance against the Giants when you're turning over the ball 5 times. Alex Smith is still trying to get better, but I think the Lions cover -4.5. That one might lose, but I'm going off a gut right there, gut choice, Lions -4.5. Zach, I love this pick, this next one. You have it as well. The Bills +2 against Arizona. Some of the reasons you mentioned, I can't believe they're +2 in this game after watching what the Arizona Cardinals did defensively. This team can score. Josh Allen showed you, okay. That was a gutsy performance by Josh Allen.
It was. He's back on track.
Because earlier, after the game, I think Sean McDermott said that Josh Allen's one of his close relatives died. And he came out the next day. He was maybe not even going to play. And he balled out like he did. So props to him. +2, I like it. That offense is good. This could be a shootout again, Zach, because Buffalo's defense didn't look that good. They did force some turnovers, but they gave up 34 points. And Kyler Murray, he's electric. I love Kyler Murray. But I think the Bills win this game and extend their lead in the AFC East. It's a tight one now. It's a tight one. Give me the Bills +2 because the Dolphins are right ahead. They guys keep winning games. So Dolphins are right behind them, Zach.
And who would have thought the Dolphins would have had the best defense in the AFC East this season?
They were a lot of fun, that defense.
That defense is great. Brian
Flores, that defense is awesome.
Into shape, man.
All right, Zach, last and final pick here.
Here we go.
Say best for last. Best for last. Moneyline pick of the week. Max Moneyline pick of the week for week 10. We're 2-1. 2-1.
So you've made some money if you went with
the Dolphins. Won last week. Zach, this one, I'm doing it. Texans over Browns. Do you like that?
I was writing a preview for that game, and the history is on your side. The Browns are coming off a bye. They're 1 for their last 5 coming off a bye, so they're 1-4, and they've lost their last 5 games against Houston, the Browns.
Hey, Texans money line.
So the Texans, if you go with history, Houston's got the advantage.
Yeah. It's just it intrigued me because Cleveland They're in the hunt in the playoffs. They need to win this game to keep pace in a competitive AFC playoff picture.
Yeah.
And you got a Texans team that I think they're better than what their record shows.
Well, they have Deshaun Watson, of course.
And they got Deshaun Watson. He's going to make some plays. Texans money line over the Browns. That's my money line pick of the week. Hoping to get 3-1. Keep trying to have a better week than we did last week. We went 3-2. We went 4-1, 4-1, 3-2. I like this card this week. The only one I'm a little bit iffy about is Lions -4.5.
That's a tough
But
one.
other than that, I like my other ones. This is going to be a good week, Zach. Yeah, I like some of your picks. I like your Bucks pick, Ravens pick. I really, really am intrigued by that Bengals pick.
That's going to be
a good week of NFL picks from Zach and Mac. That's all I got to say.
Yeah, I think you got to go with them. And Matt, just real quick, can you guess who the starting quarterbacks were? Pardon me. The last time the Cleveland Browns beat the Houston Texans. Do you want the year?
Yeah.
2007.
7. Brady Quinn.
No.
Josh Campbell.
No.
Seneca Wallace.
No. You want the answers? Here, try. You know who Houston's was, though, right?
Matt Schaub.
Yeah. All right. So
Okay.
it's Matt Schaub against this former Carolina Panther. Oh, no.
Malone.
No. Derek Anderson.
Derek Anderson.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
When he was over there. So Derek Anderson led the Cleveland Browns to a victory over the Houston Texans back in 2007 with Andre Johnson on the field and Matt Schaub's offense.
Hey, hopefully Baker can figure out a way to beat the Texans this week. But guess what? It ain't.
Well,
happen.
I was going to say, you want the Texans to win that one. I've always liked Houston. I always felt like they kind of get the short end of the stick, and hopefully they can figure things out after this season, which is going to be a complete disaster when it's all said and done. Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Because this team was built to win.
Oh no, they were one game away.
Yeah.
Really? I mean, they were one game away from getting to the AFC Championship game and had a 24-0 lead against the Kansas City Chiefs.
Well, no lead is safe against Kansas City.
Well, you know what is safe? Not giving up 50 points straight without even scoring. I mean, come on.
And how's that defense this bad? They've had J.J. Watt forever. But I think they think, we got J.J. Watt. Why do we need anybody else on the defense? That to me seems to be their philosophy.
Yeah, no, I agree, Zach. I think that I just got a feeling the Texans might win this game just because the Browns just do some Cleveland type stuff and when they need a win, they don't get it. And this would be a prime example of a team they should beat but won't, and it's going to hurt them later on in the season.
Well, they were bad against the Raiders 2 weeks ago.
No, that
16-6 game.
That was that weather was crazy.
It was crazy, but they still were bad.
No,
at least the Raiders figured out how to run the ball. Like Cleveland couldn't even do that.
Doesn't make any sense from this Browns team. It's like you got Kareem Hunt there. I know Chubb's and that's the thing. Chubb's going to be back this week.
Yeah,
Chubb's going to, and that's going to help them. That's really going to help them.
Mm-hmm.
But it's still, you got Kareem Hunt now. He ain't no scrub.
No.
So
I mean, he's a jerk, but he's not a bad football player.
No, that's what I'm saying. He's a good runner of the football. I'll tell you that.
Yeah.
So
if I was just distill him down to that,
I was just confused why they struggled so much against the Raiders defense. That's good, but I was expecting a little bit more in that game.
Yeah. All right. So we'll see what ends up happening with all those picks. Again, if you want to follow them up, go right ahead. You're probably better off going with Matt there, but I'm good at picking winners of games, but not with the lines and stuff like that.
It's tough, man.
It is
really
tough.
Is.
It is tough. So this week I changed my philosophy a little bit, and I picked some more underdogs to see if that could help out. Well, that's gonna wrap up this episode. We talked some Mets, some NBA drafts, some breaking news with the Houston Rockets guards, and a little bit more NFL picks, man. I mean, good to go. Next week's going to be even more fun. I'm sure we'll hear a little bit more about stuff that's going on in terms of, we'll know the NBA, how a lot of stuff going on in the NBA will turn out. And we'll probably hear I think maybe the Mets will at least hear some rumors around them. So that'll be fun as well next week. And another week of football. So that's what we got to look forward to next week, next Thursday.
Yeah, no, guys, thanks for listening so much. We've we've really put in some great time over the last 4 episodes. This I think was one of our better ones for sure. Zach, you could attest to that.
Oh
But
yeah.
yeah, guys, can keep listening. We'll be back at it next week. It was a great show. Be on the lookout for that NBA news, man, and be on the lookout for the Mets because those are some intriguing stuff. And hey, if you want to win some money, take my NFL picks. We've been hot lately,
That's right.
guys. So again, thanks for listening. I'm just going to try to get a Twitter going and email your questions to MacZax217 at yahoo.com. We might have a segment later on answering some of the fans' questions. So if you got a question, again, MacZack217 at yahoo.com. We might be answering some fans' questions. Again, thank you for the support, and we'll see you again next week. Zach, awesome show.
Yeah, thanks, man. Yeah, we would love nothing more than some more engagement. Yeah, catch us on Spotify, catch us on YouTube, and please, everybody, stay safe out there. Be well. Hope you continue listening to the show. Thanks for the support, and stay frosty.